sale building that's finished. And welcome everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to the October 2025 meeting of CB7's Transportation Committee. I am Elizabeth Caputo and
I am Jami. Floyd.
Co-chairs. We have one major item on the agenda, a few other small but important things. Just before we go into item number one, I wanted just for everyone to introduce everyone to Alex Bell. If you haven't met him already, he is our incoming CB7 chair. Who begins officially on November 1st. I think we can go around the table. I'm Elizabeth. Maybe the other committee members who are here can introduce themselves too.
Sure. Carey Alexander.
The Climate Outbound Vice Chair.
Andrew Albert.
J. Adolf. Ken Coughlin.
Howard Yaruss.
Great. Do we have anyone on Zoom from the committee?
Sofia.
If they show up, we will announce them. So welcome everyone, and we want to, I guess the first item, adopt the agenda.
So
So let's move it. Yay, that didn't take even the first 5 minutes.
Reserve that time. Reserve that time. Okay, so our first item is 670 Columbus Avenue, doing business as Trader Joe's. There's a request to the DOT for a truck loading zone. And are the owls functioning?
And I believe Nick is on.
Okay.
Yes, hi everyone, good evening.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Would you, just for the record, we can read your name, would you say it for the record, and then you can go ahead and make your proposal.
Of course, I'm Nick Alexiadis. I'm a project manager at Bowler Engineering. We're a site civil engineer based out of Manhattan. And our client today is Trader Joe's, and they've contacted us to assist them with obtaining more clear loading zone signage in front of their business.
At 670 Columbus.
At 670 Columbus Avenue.
And do you want to say more about the proposal to DOT, or do you want to simply entertain, assuming there are any questions from
I think we have
the
some
committee?
slides.
What's the
I have a presentation that I can go through to familiarize the group with the actual site and a little bit more detail about the request. Hello?
93rd, correct?
Yes, it is. For
Yeah.
that
Did he
address,
free-
it is.
Did he just?
Yep,
free
it is.
It is.
He has a presentation.
do you want to
Yes.
share your screen, Nicholas?
Of course, sorry you cut out there for a second, but I appear to be back now.
Okay, great. So Trader Joe's at 92nd, 93rd. We are ready when you are. 670 Columbus.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Yep. Okay. All right, so I just want to go through some of the definitions that the city is utilizing for loading zones. The typical loading zone is the portion of a curb space which a vehicle may stand or park for the purposes of making pickups or service calls, or loading or unloading goods, tools, materials, or other items. A truck loading zone, which is the loading zone which we are requesting, is the portion of the space which no vehicle except a commercial vehicle may stand or park for the purposes of making pickups or service calls. And the remainder of the text is the same in both definitions. So the one major exception is that this is dedicated to commercial vehicles. A little bit about the different types of loading zones within the city. So there's commercial metered parking, which currently exists there today, which is for basically any commercial vehicle. It could be your local plumber, a loading truck, any type of commercial plate vehicle can park there for a given period of time after paying a meter. The next two are recently enacted loading zones, which the city is now implementing throughout the city. The first one is neighborhood loading zones, which is for your typical mail delivery vehicles, Amazon trucks, and basically quick drop-offs and pickups. And then there's dedicated truck loading zones, which is a bit more specific, which are more appropriate for businesses like supermarkets, grocery stores, and industrial uses. Any questions thus far?
Nope.
All right, so I just want to go through a recently enacted law from DOT. In 2021, the DOT enacted a law, I believe it was COVID related, to enhance the amount of loading zones that are present across the city. Because they've identified that 90% of the freight deliveries in the city are done by via trucks. This was effective late 2021. And the law basically required DOT to determine which neighborhoods are in most need of these additional loading zones and to create a hierarchy for them to be able to implement where these loading zones should be installed. As of that initial enactment of the code, 500 new loading zones were required each year for the first 3 years. And I believe DOT has come close to 1,500 to 2,000 in those first 3 years. So they've well exceeded that amount. But this law just goes to show that there is a documented need for enhanced loading zones throughout the city. They've been identified to relieve congestion and provide a more safe operation for those doing the deliveries. This is a recently produced map that the DOT has to identify the various tiers throughout the city, as well as the blue dots indicating these dedicated new loading zones. So since the beginning of 2022, DOT has installed close to 2,000 additional loading zones citywide. That's 4 times the amount that they were required to install as of 2021. And they're currently mainly focusing on Tier 1 and Tier 2 priority neighborhoods. The site in question is just on the border of a Tier 1, Tier 2 site. But DOT is continuing to install these loading zones, so they will likely be starting to show up in the vicinity in the coming time. Just to demonstrate the imbalance in the loading zones between Upper East and Upper West sides, you can see there's only one blue dot identified on the Upper West side. There's a large disparity in terms of the loading zone operations between the two sides of this portion of the city. So it's one of the major needs why our client is requesting the loading zone. I was just going to go through a little bit of what current signage exists there today and what we would be proposing. So currently, there's street cleaning from 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning every day except Sunday. Throughout the daytime, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., commercial vehicles may park for 1 hour metered parking. And then for the remainder of the day, including the overnight, it's 3-hour metered parking from 4 to 10 p.m. During the week. And then on Saturdays, almost all day, from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So currently there's no dedicated space for deliveries to the store. The loading zone is frequently blocked by local commercial vehicles that are occupying the space. That could be, as I mentioned, the plumber, local electrician, or any local commercial vehicle that is able to utilize those types of parking areas. We are requesting a 70-foot dedicated truck loading only space directly in front of the store. That would be identified by these truck loading only signs, which are newly created DOT standard signs for these types of operations. I was just going to go through a few photos of the actual site. So this shows on a typical commercial vehicle parking day, you can see this cable or local service vehicle has parked just north, just beyond where we're asking for the loading zone to start. So basically the area that you see here in the photo is the extent of which we would be asking for the dedicated loading zone. This photo from July 2022 shows a commercial trash removal operation. So there was likely some person parked here in front of just behind this truck, lading the trash vehicle to park on the street and have to take up multiple lanes to facilitate the trash removal operation. This shows a typical loading or unloading delivery to the store, which again, there was likely some sort of blockage prohibiting this truck from parking where these pallets are. So the goal would be to have this space clear so that the truck could park in this lane and allow the pallets to be unloaded from the back and directly into the store. So this operation that you see here with the 2 lanes being occupied is something that our client is looking to alleviate. Here's kind of a textbook example of why we're requesting this loading zone. Here you see a commercial vehicle parked with what looks to be maybe a ticket on it, but It's right there, basically from where we'd be asking the spot to start. So basically from where this gray van is parked to the crosswalk would be the loading zone. And this is your typical delivery, which again has a vehicle just in front, but in this case, because the truck was smaller, was able to fit into this area. And then just one last photo showing passenger vehicle, again, parked where we would be asking for the loading zone to start. Then the last exhibit is just the actual plan of what we would be requesting. There wouldn't be any striping on the road. This is just for graphical presentation purposes, but the loading zone signs are identified here at the start and end of the loading zone, as well as the existing signage that is there today. That's the entirety of our request. I just hope that everyone was able to get a little bit better of an understanding of the situation and understand why the need for this type of a loading zone is required, so that we can enhance the safety of the neighborhood and make sure that these loading operations are done safely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Can we ask questions?
Of course, but community first, if you don't mind, Ken. Anyone from the community in this room, and then we'll ask online, and then we'll hear from committee. Ken had his hand up first, so we'll go to Ken first after anyone who might have questions. Anyone in the room have a question for Nick and the Trader Joe's folks? Anyone online of the community have a question for Nicholas? Ken, you are lucky.
Oh, should we read the community input that came in?
Do you want to read the input first?
Yeah,
or do
we
you
wanted
want
to read, I guess, because it was a community,
There are some comments.
Yeah.
Alex, do you want to read that
I
out
think
loud?
there might be four.
Is it a question or is it a?
Elena says, do you know that Trader Joe's already has a loading zone on 92nd Street? Maybe Nicholas, you can answer that?
Did you hear that, Nick?
I did, yes. So that's around the corner from where these deliveries may take place, and that loading zone may not be dedicated for this particular building or for this particular user. It's also on a one-way street that is likely coming from a residential area, and typically these larger vehicles would not be able to navigate that small of a street.
We have a question and a set of comments submitted by a resident nearby. I live at 100 West 93rd Street. I want to ask if this item could be postponed until next month to give the immediate community time to notify neighbors. There's been no outreach to the community. Trader Joe's has a sign on its entrance to the door about the hearing, but there have been no other communications to the immediate community. Besides taking over the street illegally to store large equipment overnight, loading as early as 4 or 5 in the morning, not maintaining the sidewalk, including the street trees that they regularly use to store trash. Trader Joe's has not been a good neighbor. I feel that before we give them a loading bay, the community is entitled to the opportunity to speak with the applicant about these and other quality of life issues. I ask that the application be held over 1 month to notify the nearby community of their plans. Thank you for your consideration, Arena Stennett. So I don't know, Nick, if you want to respond to any of those questions or concerns.
Of course, yes. So I'm not exactly sure what they're referring to regarding the trash and the street trees. Typically street tree maintenance is done by the New York City Parks Department. It's not the responsibility of the any local business or property owner. And the street occupancy is definitely something that our client is looking to mitigate through the installation of this loading zone. So it's definitely being proposed to minimize that type of operation, as we realize that that's not an ideal situation, and this loading zone is to assist with alleviating that.
We address the 4 to 5 a.m. loading.
I mean
go ahead.
that's typical. I don't believe there's any regulations on that citywide. I believe this business does receive deliveries, perishable deliveries between 4 and 6 a.m. So that is something that will likely be ongoing and is not currently regulated to our knowledge.
And finally, could you address her question about the time frame about whether or not this could be held over for a month? In your view, from the Trader Joe's side?
I mean, it's obviously a hindrance to the loading operations of this facility. If that's the request from the community, I don't believe we have the ability to challenge. We can request that, the determination be made today, so that we can get this implemented as soon as possible, but we're obviously open to answering any of the concerns from the neighborhood.
Is your timing question satisfactorily
Yes.
answered? Okay,
Someone else.
so,
Yeah, do you want to promote any of these
is that,
now?
are they questions or comments?
I would say they're mostly question/comment. I live across the street and I believe myself and my neighbors are used to living zone. There's kind of two questions. Where is this commercial businesses getting these vacations?
All right, so if there are questions, let's go ahead and ask them, and then we'll come
So
to
Promote
questions.
promote
from-
them or ask them?
Promote them if they want to speak, of
Okay.
course. Thank you, Alex. And in the interest of time, I think I will go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Ken.
yeah, go.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay.
Kim, why don't you go right ahead?
Okay, well, I live, right around the corner and go there a lot, or walk by there a lot, and it's a real problem. Trucks, semi-tractor trailers back up Columbus Avenue regularly because they can't get to the curb. I agree with Nick that this, I just, I think if there are issues about Trader Joe's not being a good neighbor, those are separate issues, that this is something that will make them a better neighbor. And we should we should approve it as quickly as we can if we decide to approve it. I just had a couple of questions. What, do you have any specified hours for deliveries, or is it at any time?
The loading operations currently are perishable deliveries at 4 a.m., additional perishable deliveries at 6 a.m., dry deliveries at 5 p.m., and frozen deliveries at 8 p.m. So they're staggered throughout the day. I believe this location does receive deliveries almost every day of the week. So it's a pretty intense loading operation to keep this facility stocked.
And the truck loading zone, the proposed loading zone would be for what hours?
I mean, we haven't identified necessarily those hours specifically or which days. Based on the delivery schedule of 7 days a week and in those timeframes, it would almost be an exclusive usage loading zone without a restriction on hours. If there was a need to put a restriction for any reason, we could discuss that with the Trader Joe's team and see what would be possible with their operations teams. But I don't believe, at the moment, we're not proposing any restrictions to give them the most flexibility for the deliveries.
Okay, and I was just by there before I came to this meeting, and there were a lot of pallets on the sidewalk. There was no truck, but the truck had unloaded onto the sidewalk, and it narrowed the sidewalk. I mean, it wasn't, you could still pass, but is that would Trader Joe's consider that a regular condition or something exceptional?
It's definitely something that I had brought up to them. They had advised me that the landlord of the building has provided them timeframes from, or I'll say a time limit for how long the pallet can be on the sidewalk before they have to move it inside the building. I believe they said that's between 5 and 10 minutes. So between 5 and 10 minutes, the pallet is technically supposed to be moved inside the building. That was discussion with Trader Joe's and their landlord. So I don't think it's something that can be completely alleviated. It's not practical for it to go from the truck directly inside. There will need to be a little bit of staging, but the time frame is definitely trying to be minimized by their operations.
Thank you, Nick. We have a few more members of the community who have questions, if you would entertain those.
Of course.
Go right ahead, Alex, thank you.
Yeah, Elena, you're up. You can unmute and ask your question.
I was trying to share a picture of what it generally looks like. There's a lot of, regardless of how long these pellets are allowed to stay or not, there tends to be pellets on the corner blocking people, especially in early hours in the morning. And if you're, I'm sure you're aware, there's 3 big schools, 2 on 93rd Street and then 1 on 92nd. So the 8 o'clock, there's kids walking everywhere and there's pellets standing or goods standing on the corner. So they have to be we have to walk around them. And most often Trader Joe's staff is using the ramp on the sidewalk, like the handicap ramp, to drag their equipment up and down. And because things are blocked off so that the trucks can unload, they're using the sidewalk. And they're asking us to move, those of us who live in the community, especially in those busy morning hours when there's kids going to schools. There's guards on almost every corner, but it creates, I think, a really dangerous environment. And I'm not entirely sure that this is the best place for them to be loading and unloading things, regardless of how long they would stay on the street. I find it that more often than not, there are stacks and stacks of pellets on the street. So I'm not, again, maybe if the loading is limited to hours that are not busy, when kids are not going to school or leaving school, that can be one way for this to be solved. But I think the way it's done right now, and that the street is constantly being blocked, it's not necessarily a good situation for the community.
You had mentioned 8 o'clock. Is that 8 o'clock in the morning that you're referring to?
Yeah,
There's
8 a.m. and 3 p.m. is when kids usually are coming and going to school. So anywhere between like 7:30 to 8:30, the streets are extremely busy. And with extra like obstacles for everybody to go around and narrowing the amount of space we have to walk, it's one, it's inconvenient, but two, I think with them blocking the sidewalk very often, almost every morning the sidewalk is blocked off and they're using it to drag the equipment up and down that they load and unload things from the trucks. So they're asking us, standing on, waiting for the light. I very often am asked to please move so they can drag their equipment through that red ramp, that's handicap ramp. I think that's a serious problem, and I don't think that's very neighborly as well.
It's definitely a valid concern, which I'll bring up to Trader Joe's. If you have any photos of that operation at that time, we'd be more than happy to relay those to our contact at Trader Joe's. And it doesn't seem typical because their deliveries are so early in the morning at 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. So definitely it's something that we should bring up to them, and I'll inform them of your concern. 'Cause I
Thank
believe
you.
there is street cleaning at that time. So the street cleaning, there should be no vehicle there if there's street cleaning.
She's talking about.
Well said, Nick.
Yeah.
Vanessa, would you like to ask a question?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. I live across the street, so I'm a part of the community. I've been a part of the community since Trader Joe's opened, and I would have to say, unlike my other neighbors that just spoke, I find them to be great neighbors. In the morning, I go to Trader Joe's at least like 3 times out of the day, starting with early AM, and I would have to say I'm not experiencing what the others are experiencing, saying that it's sort of like an obstacle course. I have not experienced that. Columbus Avenue streets are quite wide. The sidewalks are quite wide. So there are times where I do see the pallets, but the pallets are more towards the edge, like almost, I mean, if they went a couple of inches more, they would be in the street as opposed to on the sidewalk. So I have not had the same experience. I haven't had anyone tell me, to move out the way. There are times where they're bringing a pallet up. And of course, I am a neighbor. I'm going to stop short and, wait until they put their items inside their warehouse, but I'm not having the same experience. If anything, I think having a designated place in front of the store where they are able to park and unload would be safer than what's happening now. I'm experiencing the truck throughout the day, and it's off of the sidewalk. So if anything, I think this proposal would be safer for the community, and I think would be a bit more effective and efficient for loading and unloading.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
And I see our community board member, Barbara Adler, has her hand up. So thank you, Barbara, for patiently waiting.
Thank you. Just two little comments. One is that if the person who wrote her comments and you read them, Jami, is correct, that the community was not advised, then it's really in violation of our rules, and I think it should be put off for a month. And my other comment was to you, Nick. You made a comment that street trees are owned by New York City Parks, which is absolutely true. And but it is not true that New York City Parks cleans them. And having run a business improvement district, I can advise you that shopkeepers, especially large ones like Trader Joe's, are expected to clean up the trash that's outside their place on a daily basis. That's all. Thanks.
I'll definitely relay that to them. Thank you.
I would say, Barbara, that it was properly noticed on our site as a topic for conversation tonight. And I would also say that it would then again appear on our full board. Should we vote on it tonight, depending on how it goes, it would then again appear at full board. So I think there would be a sufficient notice.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, did you, I believe you had sent some photos to the board office. I don't know if you wanted to share those or if you have them.
Of course, yes. I just have to pull that up. Just give me one moment. It was posted. I believe the person that had brought that up did mention that it was posted in front of the Trader Joe's and on a few of the light posts and mailboxes in the area. Maybe not on residential doors, but definitely on the door and in the vicinity.
In addition to the graphic of the design.
Yes.
One more question.
While you get that up, Nick, we do have a question from Wendy. Wendy, do you want to go ahead? Nick, if you don't mind fielding a question while you're looking for the images, that would be terrific, so we can keep it moving. Wendy, go right ahead.
Pull up the images real quick. We can just go through that.
Okay, Wendy, hold 1 minute, Wendy, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so this is around the corner on 93rd. And this is light post on Columbus Avenue between 93rd and 92nd. Columbus Avenue and West 93rd. Columbus and West 93rd. And near Columbus and 93rd. And
Looks like there's sunshine out during those photos, so it must have been definitely before the last few days.
Yeah, it was right when requested.
Yeah, and I think the comment is about sufficient notice to the community, Barbara, so your point is well taken. But we discussed it and thought that we had noticed it here through Community Board 7 and thought we should go ahead. But I do appreciate your comment, Barbara, very much. Wendy, would you like to ask a question or make a comment?
Yes, I would. I guess I'm just wondering when those notices went up, because I also never saw them, but just maybe I wasn't being observant enough, but I never noticed them. So I was curious when they went up.
Nick, do you want to answer that before Wendy makes her next comment?
Monday, October 6th was the date that they were posted.
Okay, interesting. Anyway, I would like to comment on the delivery schedule, because I find it, I live on 93rd Street right across, and they deliver all the time during the day. They deliver frequently in the evening at around 6 p.m., between 6 and 7 p.m. And my biggest concern, and I do find Trader Joe's not to be a good neighbor, because they go flying on those forklifts a lot. And the number of times I've seen, we have a lot of older people who live in our area and people with walkers. There's also the strollers and stuff as well. But I've seen people nearly get run over by those things, and it's been very upsetting to watch. And there's a complete disregard for people who have mobility issues. And so I am concerned that people just don't seem to care.
I know that's unfortunate. I do know that they do use, safety vests to identify themselves during the loading, especially when being on the street and, present with vehicles. Unfortunately, that's an operations item that wouldn't necessarily be either solved or not remedied via this application. It's a concern that I'll definitely have to bring up to Trader Joe's along with the trash removal and hours of their deliveries. And we do hear your concern. Unfortunately, I'm not able to necessarily advise on the specifics of how they're removing the actual material or how it's moving across the sidewalk. Only to say that we are aware that they use dedicated teams to facilitate the operations.
Well, no one's doing, like when the person's on the forklift, they're not shoulder checking or anything. They're just going. And there's not like a second person monitoring or
So
doing
let me-
some type
let
of
me-
sidewalk control. And I just
let me
think
share
there's
my screen
sometimes
for a
there's
second.
literally no room for someone with a walker to get through. Like,
So this is a street view from, looks like April 29th of this year, just to show the type of, security operations that are being in place, the cones, the safety barriers, as well as the type of, safety equipment that they have within the loading bay that they're using, the identifying safety vests, the forklift that you mentioned, as well as additional cones. I can try to look for additional dates that maybe could reflect.
I mean,
a
the
little-
cones are just where they keep, I mean, that thing lives there at night. It parks there. It just takes
Yeah.
up a parking spot. The cones aren't really a safety thing. That's to hog the spot so that no other car can go in there, right? Like the parking effectively on the whole street is gone. Trader Joe's takes it all. And like when the truck comes, like one night I had a rental car and I tried to park in the regular spot that's a legal spot, and they told me I'm not allowed to because at some point the delivery truck will come. Well, then they should take down the parking signs.
But that's the whole.
Yeah, it's definitely something
But-
that we're looking to achieve.
But anyway, I just feel they have not been good neighbors. I find that they just feel that the sidewalk is theirs and there's no consideration for people with baby carriages, for children, for people with mobility issues. And I have none of those things. I'm so it's not, it's not me. I can dodge, but I see a lot of people who can't dodge and I find it a little upsetting. That's all. So I wish that that would change. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy, for
Yeah.
your comments.
Thank you.
So I would ask, and I think Elizabeth would agree, that you take these concerns about Trader Joe's in the community as a neighbor back to the company. I'd like to try to move this on, but I see that I have two hands up from committee members. Three hands.
Right now, I have nothing to say.
All right,
But otherwise,
let's
I
go in
do.
order.
Then I
Carey.
do.
Two comments and a question. The first is, I think this presentation is joining a somewhat broader question about how we handle space on Columbus Avenue. There's a particular bottleneck that happens in front of Trader Joe's, but there's also a very substantial bottleneck that happens in the super block between 97th and 100th Street, where there is quite a bit of double parking and
Yes.
the signage along that stretch needs to be reevaluated as well. So if we're writing a resolution, I think what we should be doing is asking the DOT to holistically evaluate this entire area, including this application as it relates to Trader Joe's. That's the first comment. Second is, I would echo a lot of the feedback that you're hearing about Trader Joe's being a bad neighbor. It frankly, I get the sense, have been arrogant. Every single picture that you have showed us has cones in them. One where there are two lanes that are being blocked off. And on other committees where an application comes forward, it's generally accepted at face value. If you're trying to vote on whether or not you're going to acknowledge a violation that's been in place, you disregard it. But it's still a difficult pill to swallow, even though a truck loading zone is probably what the solution is. My question is, by what authority does Trader Joe's put those cones in the street?
It's really for the safety of the area to ensure that they have as much space as possible for facilitating the loading operation. Without any sort of blockage of the lane, the entire area would be susceptible to commercial vehicle parking and there would be no area available for loading, and the vehicle would have to purely double park, blocking in all of those vehicles while doing the loading operation. So it would really be a detrimental, of detrimental impact to not incorporate some sort of a dedicated loading zone, knowing that the businesses in this area do require something of that nature, especially given the fact of the major disparity in the Upper West to the Upper East Side that I had presented earlier, of the amount of loading zones that are available to the businesses between those two sides of the community, and just showing that there really is a dedicated need for something that we're proposing.
The message that I think I hear is Trader Joe's is doing this anyway, so we may as well change the signs, but it's something that is already going on.
It's not true.
Carrie, do you have a follow-up or you?
No, no.
Good, you made your point. Okay, I have a follow-up for you about the Columbus Avenue comment, but let's come back to that. Let's table it for now and come back to it. Andrew Rigie.
I just think Trader Joe's is a madhouse. I don't know how many thousands upon thousands of people love having in the community. That requires an enormous number of deliveries of all the different types of goods. We can say whatever we want, but like that has to happen. And, I understand people have some safety concerns, but they seem like they're just concerns. Like if anything, they're trying to get a spot so they can actually unload properly in a little bit more organized way. So like, I would just say, whole question, they need a space, anything, it's still gonna be a madhouse. Maybe it'll make it a little bit better, but, big stores that get big deliveries, they need a space to do it.
Not before again.
But are you calling the question or are you just saying?
Well, I
someone should?
don't want to, I want people to talk, but they should, but it's like, it's a loading zone, like businesses, it's a critical infrastructure for the city.
Right, not hearing the question called, Doug.
Even if the question is called, you have jurisdiction as the co-chairs of the committee. So on background, this is under the Urban West Side Renewal Plan. This is a former Mitchell-Lama building. There was an exception made to bulk up this building. The requirement, if some of you remember, were that they had to do multiple tenants. Trader Joe's actually wanted to do a much bigger store, but there's at least 3 tenants there between Party City and Just Salad. So I understand you're asking for a 70-foot deliveries zone. An 18-wheeler is 72 feet in general, but I get why it's needed. I do want to say that I am a customer of Trader Joe's and I find them to be an essential service in our neighborhood. I think you guys were exceptionally good during the pandemic, better than almost any other supermarket in terms of organization and cleanliness and everything else. So I'm very much in support of this. I think it will alleviate some problems. I guess the question I just had is, I understand the loading dock is north of the main entrance. Is there another loading entrance around the corner, or is it all on Columbus Avenue North? That's my first question. And how many trucks do you anticipate a day? Are they all 18-wheelers or some of them half trucks? I think those are my only 2 questions.
Okay, the first question, this is the only loading dock that's dedicated to Trader Joe's. It's the opening in the building just north of their main entrance, as you mentioned. So that's where they receive all of their pallets and goods through there. The other loading area that you mentioned may be for the trash operations of the building, for the major building that is here with the other 3 commercial uses. But I believe that other loading dock is for the actual building use. The type of vehicle that is delivered here is typically a WB50 semi-trailer, which is a little bit shorter than 72. I believe 72 is the largest, but I believe the Trader Joe's uses a WB50, which is a 49-foot trailer. And then the last question, the type of deliveries, typically I believe they use 3 major deliveries throughout the day. The perishable at 4 a.m., the dry at 5 p.m., and the frozen at 8 p.m. And there's a perishable, they call it overflow, when they need an additional delivery of perishable items, that's at 6 a.m. So maximum, there's 4 deliveries a day, but typically 3 deliveries.
Thank you. I know that 72nd and Broadway Trader Joe's at one point was the busiest Trader Joe's in America. I think that there's a few that are now a little bit busier. But I do want to just echo what some people said here. I think it's really important that you improve your neighborly behavior. I have been there, and that crosswalk being cut off and not being given to the public, especially children, et cetera, or people with disabilities, which it's what it's intended for on the curb cut. I think you guys can do better. So I would expect you to, based on this hearing, that you can make some improvements.
Understood. Thank you.
So despite Doug encouraging me to take my chair's jurisdiction and call the question, I'm not going to. I'm going to respect Jay's desire to say something since virtually everyone else at the table
I
has.
just want to make sure I understand what the existing situation is now. There is a commercial loading zone at that location. Is that correct?
There may be one around the corner for the uses of the larger building, but not for the purposes of this business.
On
Okay.
Columbus, there's no church.
So right now, there's
No
nothing,
dedicated,
no
dedicated.
loading zone at that.
Right.
That's correct.
And this application, if it's granted, would create a truck loading zone. Would that be for the exclusive use of any size vehicles? Could other commercial vehicles use that zone?
Certainly, yes. It's for basically any vehicle that can fit within that area that is for loading. And it's for any type of commercial loading use.
So contractors or other deliverers or could use it.
That's correct, as long as they fall within the classification that the DOT had outlined of truck loading usage only.
Jay?
Yep.
Howard?
I just want to end maybe by saying I have enormous
Sure.
sympathy for all these businesses that try to do their work without any loading zones. There is not a loading zone within about a half mile of my apartment. And actually today I was walking down Columbus and there was an ambulance that was just sitting there because there was there were 3 lanes. There was unloading in one lane, unloading in the other lane, and the other lane wouldn't move. Again, a lot of these businesses have not complied with the law because they can't comply with the law. So I think it's a great thing to try to come up with a legal way for them to do the business we all expect them to do.
Thank you, Howard. I would simply put on the table the fact, the suggestion that Carey raised earlier, that we have a larger problem in the corridor. It's not just one loading zone here. I'm sure you're going to agree
But we
with
got
this,
to
Howard.
start somewhere.
It's not just one loading zone here, one loading zone there, or even the corridor above 92nd. Columbus Avenue is, it's become a complete bottleneck. I mean, you can barely ride your bike down the center of the avenue, let
Or
alone
drive an
a car.
ambulance with the siren going.
Exactly. So my
Not supposed to
question.
ride your bike down the center of the avenue.
Well, one should not, but if one can access the bike lane because people are parked there, one sometimes is forced to. So the question before we actually call this question is whether we want to consider a larger Columbus Avenue plan, or do you want to table that, bring it up another time and vote on this one loading zone? That's the question because if we do this piecemeal, then we're doing it piecemeal.
I think we have to get
Why
started.
don't-
I
why
mean,
don't-
Notice.
Why don't we do?
You
why
can
don't we
take
do-
away the bike lane and give some relief to the bike.
All right, well, if someone wants to call the question on.
Call the question.
Call the question.
Do you have a
Okay.
second? Okay, Karen.
Call the question.
Object, if this is for a resolution,
Well,
we
we have
have-
an application
well,
for
it's a
loading zone.
Well,
it's a resolution in support of,
That's correct.
right, but we haven't circulated, and
Yes.
there are these broader questions
Yes.
about, are we gonna address a corridor, are we gonna add hours, and we don't have the text of a resolution in front of us.
That is
And we
what
need
I'm
the
saying.
text of a resolution if we're voting on anything, so there's no question to call.
No,
By the bylaws, any
But
proposed
technically,
resolution shall
that
only
is
be subject
correct.
of a vote if properly noticed.
It's
So,
been noticed.
for discussion, but we don't have the
We have
text
the
of a res-
topic. That's all we need.
Right.
I think we need the text of a resolution if we're
It
gonna
does
vote on
not, the bylaws do not say. And we've been doing this I've been on the board for
Yes.
16 years. We've been doing it for 16 years.
That doesn't mean we've been doing it the right way.
Yes,
That's for
well,
sure.
The bylaws do not.
This was supposed to
should
be
have the
5
text
minutes,
in
by the
front
way.
of us.
That's what it says.
I,
It was missing a 0.
Or two.
I think we should vote on this and we should definitely discuss the corridor at a future meeting.
Could we include in
But
the
I want-
resolution some of your language about the need to explore it
We could,
further and vote on it? I
Right.
think that's like a compromise to get
Yeah,
us through this, and then we have your
Well,
discussion.
we have two separate issues. We now have the procedural rules question of whether we can vote on this application without having the text of a resolution in front of us. And then we have a separate, some members of this committee seem to think we can, other members seem to think we cannot. And then we have a separate question of whether we want to vote on this particular matter on the table, if we were to agree that we can.
If I may,
Have I expressed it
if I may,
correctly?
this is a very specific request based on an application to a city agency to approve that application to get this established. There are other committees that deal with these things on a monthly basis
With
in
paper?
multiples. And
Respectfully, Jay, with paperwork in front of them. Am I not right, BCI? Do they not come forward
Yes,
with?
I think this could be a matter of, for new business at today's meeting. At the end of this meeting, the new business to discuss what happens north of this site. For Carey's point, I think.
yeah, but my second point was that Carey's suggestion doesn't have to be included in the determination of this particular request, and we should take it up in a separate discussion. It's really not germane
That's
to
fine.
this specific
I think
issue.
that's fine. And I think going back to when I chaired BCI and chaired parks, two different things. The applications we had for BCI were often not presented as resolutions to us when we came to a BCI meeting. They were things that we had a list of licenses we had to approve, and we approved them, and then there were resolutions written afterwards. I think this is in the same vein for this particular request that has come in, application request. So my suggestion would probably be to do the same for this and then have a separate discussion.
I think Carey's suggestion makes a great deal of sense, especially since in Nick's presentation, he mentioned all the other trucks that are currently trying to park in front of Trader Joe's. And if they get the loading zone, those trucks are going to be looking elsewhere where they probably shouldn't be looking.
Not necessarily. They're 24 hours. These guys
Well,
are
Howard,
doing free.
That's everything called.
I'll give you guys, yeah, you can overrule
Okay, well then-
the point of order, but the point was, I don't know that we necessarily want to spend another meeting talking about north of Columbus Avenue, and if we were going to write something, it seemed like it would be efficient to include that as part of this request for curb access. And it seemed like there were other concerns also that were voiced about hours and whatnot, and it would make sense to
Hours were
ensure.
definitely expressed
Right,
by
that-
several residents of the area.
Right, that those are included in whatever we're going to go to full board with, instead of just the applications.
I strongly suggest, and Elizabeth and I are not gonna now have a private conversation. I suggest, if I'm sure you will all prefer that, I suggest that we table this till next month. They've gone this long without their loading zone. We consider a written resolution that considers everything that's been raised here tonight, including the hours, their request, and the other issues that have been raised, including the possibility of the larger corridor issues. I don't see any harm in waiting to do that. And maybe the loading zone will be a part of
But
it.
hasn't the question
What-
been called? I've said
Well,
this
okay, the question's been called. Does
so many
someone wanna
times that this,
second that?
the
I'll
perfect should
second
not, wait, the perfect should, I just want to say this, the perfect should not be the enemy, the perfect should not be the enemy of the
I
good.
know how you said it 1,000.
1,000 times, 1,000 times.
So why are you having trouble tonight?
I don't know.
I just, before you call the question, Howard, and it's been seconded, I respect that. I just want to be clear that I have looked at the bylaws. I'm not overruling Carey, and if you want to look as well, Elizabeth, it's actually this point is rather unclear, to be fair to everyone here at the table.
I was looking at the 318.
Are you looking at the bylaws, Carey? Your standing committees, 3H2.
Open meetings law, 318. Any proposed resolution.
Go ahead and read it.
Any proposed resolution shall only be the subject of a vote if properly noticed in advance of the meeting.
Okay,
That
that doesn't mean,
posted.
that doesn't mean it has to be written.
That's
Right.
how.
That is.
A proposed resolution refers to a resolution.
And I
shall
also
assume
remember
that
we
we don't-
asked the borough president about this a few years ago.
Yeah, it doesn't have.
And he
to
said,
be
no,
written.
we don't need to.
So if you saw it on a poster at 93rd and Columbus, that's being noticed.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we should clarify this. I think you are right, but I think the bylaws are.
Bylaws are ambiguous. The question.
So the question has been called. Though I agree with Carey in substance, I think the bylaws are unclear. So with great regret and hesitation, I have to.
Well, can we move to table it in the meantime then, since that was the plan, and I think we do.
Table what?
Table
This
this,
resolution.
this
This
discussion.
application?
This discussion.
I'm afraid you cannot because Howard already called the question.
Right.
Okay.
So Howard called the question and Jay seconded it. So now we are voting on it.
I just
Oh,
think
go
maybe,
ahead, Karen.
given the concerns we've heard about the vehicles on the sidewalk, not paying attention to people walking, apparently, allegedly, maybe we should put something in the resolution urging Trader Joe's to be
That's what I had
use for more care.
That's what I had suggested
Yeah.
in the beginning, is that?
That's fine.
Okay, so I think the question's been called ready. I mean,
It has. I just want to say for the record and in alignment with Carey, I think it's very sloppy to be writing resolutions on the fly. Now we're making amendments to something that's not even written, just for the record. I'm not down with it.
But
Andrew agrees.
This happens.
But
This happens all the
it might happen all the time, but so do a lot of things in Washington right now. That doesn't mean I like it. Okay. That being
I
said,
like it.
that being said, the question's been called, it's been seconded, it has now got a friendly amendment. Is that accepted, accepted? It's not your resolution, see, that's why it's a
Sounds
mess.
good to me.
Whose resolution is it?
It's committees.
It's
I
the
think-
committee's resolution, is that, so we now have a resolution on the table with Ken's friendly amendment to the committee's resolution, and that's what.
What
we're
is,
voting.
what is the amendment?
To include language that is supportive of what Carey has been indicating about addressing some of the concerns.
No.
Well,
No,
That's not what he said.
Mine
Carey has proposed that we study the situation on Columbus Avenue. And I would add a comment that we can add it to the list of studies that we've requested from DATs, and trust me, there's no rush.
It's almost been an hour.
Yeah, I think we should.
I agree.
Well, I called the question 20 minutes ago.
And we had.
Yeah,
an
here
amendment.
it is.
All right, so the question has been called, the
Okay.
question has been called, Jay has seconded the question, we're now taking the vote.
Oh.
Vote however you want, whether it's on
And
the
this is
substance or on,
Favor
Yep.
of.
or,
the
you have a
application.
procedural issue, that's fine, just vote how you're gonna vote. Let's see the ayes.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Committee members, is there anyone online committee?
Barbara's on.
She's not on the.
She's not on the-
She's not
Barbara,
on
you're
the
not yet
committee.
on the committee, but that's 8. And then Barbara, that's a non-committee vote. Hold on, Barbara, 1 second. The nays, as I like to say. 1 nay. Abstain? 1, 2. And Barbara, non-committee, yay, I presume? Thank you, Barbara, for joining our raucous committee meeting. Okay, 1 non-committee.
I don't want to hear smashing stuff at 4
Okay,
a.m.
I got everybody.
So just so it's, this is to vote in support of
The loading
the
zone
loading zone, period.
with a
without
request
any-
that they
without
try to
any
keep it
Outstanding.
safe and quiet.
Okay.
Okay, and then perhaps we'll come back and talk about the Columbus Avenue corridor,
New business.
or perhaps we won't. All right, what's next?
Next is Andrew for his.
Oh,
update on
a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
that. Over to you, Andrew.
Okay,
Here's some pictures.
a lot to report. First of all, you probably have heard that federal
Everyone,
funding,
if we could please just pay attention to the speaker, thank you. Thank you.
federal funding has been paused for 2 very important mass transit projects. Further construction on phase 2 of Second Avenue subway up to 125th Street, and funding for the Gateway Tunnel, which is the most important infrastructure project in the country right now, in my opinion, because if those existing tunnels under the Hudson River from Penn Station to New Jersey fail, all rail traffic from Boston to Miami and New Orleans stops, as well as all of New Jersey Transit's commuter rail and all of Amtrak. It's just unreal. And this has been paused because the federal government feels that for these two projects, DEI was used in the hiring of employees for them. There's no proof of that. They haven't done any investigating on that. They just wanted to make a point and they stopped funding for these very vital projects. The construction is continuing, but we'll see for how long that can go. It is in court now to try to get the money back, and we'll see how that happens. Fares, as you know, will be increasing in the beginning of the year from $2.90 to $3, reduced fares from $1.45 to $1.50. The 7-day fare cap is permanent now, and you will not pay more than $35 for as much travel as you want in a week, 7 days. And of course, $17.50 if you're using reduced fare methods of payment. Express buses will increase from 7 to 7.25, and the reduced fare will go up from $3.50 to $3.60. But there will be a new express bus fare cap of $67. You can ride as much as you want within a week, and that includes free transfers to local bus and subway. So that is a much better deal than express bus riders have had prior to this. The price of an Omni card will increase from $1 to $2. I think they're making them much more last longer too, so that's a good thing. Commuter rails will increase 4.5%, and monthly tickets will still be lower than pre-COVID, and none will exceed $500 in a month. No buses will accept coins starting in the new year. That's to get everybody into the Omni way of paying. One-way tickets are going to be good till 4 a.m. on commuter rail, will be good till 4 a.m. the next day. Round trips are being done away with, but with this all-day ticket, good till 4 a.m. You can ride as much as you want on that one fare until 4 a.m. the next day. So that's a much better deal than a round-trip ticket was, to be quite honest. Unlimited day passes are also available on City Ticket and Far Rockaway Ticket, which is something that we did not have before, which is another fare incentive. So while fares are going up, there's some incentives that make it almost a better deal than it was before the fare increase. Family fares are now good on children all the way up to age 17. It ended at age 11 before. If you have an adult paying a full fare on a commuter train, then you can bring as many children as you want for an additional $1 additional per child, which makes it much more sensible to take a family on the train than it did before. This is a great deal. Maybe people will drive a little less. You may have heard from Elizabeth's invitation that there was a very moving tribute to Saul Zabar last Friday. He was 97 when he passed. He was a fixture in this neighborhood, and obviously Zabar's is a worldwide institution that everybody knows, and everybody comes here to visit and purchase their amazing smoked fish and coffee and all. Yeah, there was a picture. The family was there, and there's the poster that was put in the 79th Street station that will stay up until it disintegrates, basically. It's a likeness. It's not exactly a photo.
It's in
but-
all 4 of the stations. It's
It is in all
the
4 of
entrances, too.
entrances, so that was a very wonderful tribute. Elevators at the 72nd Street IRT station are going to go into construction this November and will likely last until June of next year. But they're going to get both new elevators in 72nd Street. And interestingly, now the M96 will have SBS will have ACE cameras in front of it. So we will now have the M96, the M79, and the M86. All will have ACE cameras, which should speed those buses along and keep people out of the bus lanes where they don't belong in the first place. Congestion pricing has steeply reduced traffic in the central business district since it began. It will raise $500 million by the end of this year, which is what was predicted. It has raised $365 million in net revenue, with 17.6% fewer vehicles entering the zone south of 60th Street compared to last year.
What percentage is that?
17.6 fewer vehicles.
Percent.
Yes, not just 17.6 vehicles.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it has generated $449 million in gross tolls, with operating expenses costing $85 million. So that's 80, that's amazing. 87,000 fewer vehicles are entering Manhattan each day. 87,000. Imagine what that does to your air quality. And if you're driving and in a cab or a bus, how much easier it is to get around. It has generated 449 million in gross tolls with, okay, I said that, 87, okay. 14.1 billionth subway rider this morning at the Lafayette Avenue C train station.
Wait, say that again?
No.
We hit,
I don't think so.
we hit the 1 billionth subway rider
This year, right?
this morning at Lafayette Avenue on the C train. That's a month earlier than it received last year. So people are definitely coming back to the system.
And instead of a subway surfer, it was an actual surfer who was the person who.
Yes, it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Yes, it
What
was.
was pre-pandemic?
Surfboard, yeah.
Sorry?
Do you know what the pre-pandemic high was? Was it ever beyond 14.6 billion?
On the best months of the year it was. Not during vacations or when school wasn't in session or something, but we have hit 14 before, but not as frequently as we're hitting it now.
So we're beyond pre-pandemic
We are
numbers?
beyond.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's all good news.
Questions for Andrew? Members of the public? I always want to do a special segment. We've talked about doing a
think we're-
whole, oh,
Yes,
yes,
that's fine,
please.
yeah.
On 81st and Central Park West, what's the ETA on completion?
Fall of 2026 is when those elevators should be operational.
And that was the targeted, or
That's targeted.
okay, so they're,
Same with 96th Street too.
okay.
They started about the same time.
Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. For those of you who don't know Andrew, in addition to being the former chair of this committee, he is a longstanding MTA board member. So he knows more about the MTA than anyone. I think we all know. So thank you for that, Andrew.
Thank you.
And I think we will do that.
A member of the
for our Special.
Exactly. I think it's a great idea.
meeting,
Yeah, it's really great.
What'd you say, Alex?
I was to say, a member of the public, Andrew has a question.
Oh,
Andrew Fine, is it Andrew?
Andrew to Andrew.
Is it Andrew Fine?
And the Andrew question.
Hey, Andrew.
Can we hear?
Other side of town.
Or do we need to ask the question?
Yes.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
Okay.
Hi, how's everybody doing this evening?
How are things on the east side?
Well, I'm not so sure that congestion has really been cured, but I'm just wondering, I'm not really familiar with CB7. But is there any representation on this board by people of color?
You're looking at one, my friend.
Okay, sorry, my camera's not working that great.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit, but I don't understand. Like on the Upper East Side, and Andrew Rigie would probably appreciate this. We are dying for Trader Joe's. So if you just want to like move your Trader Joe's over here, we'll supply the loading docks. No problem.
I will relay the message.
Thank you.
And Andrew, if you come to the full board meetings, you'll see many more people of color beyond this multiracial woman you're looking at right now.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Andrew. Good to see you, or not see you, good to hear you.
Good to not see you.
All right, okay. Did you have a question?
Before you go on to this.
Yes.
Yes.
I just have a quick question. Somebody put up some on the screen, all the pictures of the board meeting postings that you plaster around the sidewalk. Can you come up with a better way to notify the community? Because they don't get taken down.
That is
take them
a
down.
great, that is a.
We've been
That's your
talking,
job.
we've been
Okay.
talking about better ways to keep the community informed.
Unfortunately, the local papers, West Side Rag, Upper West Side, I love New York, blah, blah. They don't tell the community, and half the
We have
community
those
doesn't know.
electronic signs.
Kiosks,
All
the
kiosks.
promote our
Kiosks
meetings.
are great.
Kiosks would really be good.
They do, but it goes by very fast.
Very fast. Yeah.
Also,
We
I
are talking
encourage
about
you to go onto our website and sign on to our email where we
I
regularly.
am.
Okay, good. So don't
I'm
you
on
get
your
emails
email.
that say what our
But
meeting is in their
this
agenda every
just
single?
like appeared on the agenda. And I noticed in one of my postings, this I'm not gonna say anything. Forget about
Actually,
it.
that's
Okay,
when we
moving
get to
on.
it, when we
I'm
get to
ready-
it.
I'm ready
That's a
for
good
this.
transition. That's a good transition into our final and arguably, I think the reason most people are here tonight, meeting, which is discussion of
Thank you.
the street redesign for, thanks, Andrew. Street redesign for Broadway between 69th and 72nd. Just want to thank everyone who's contributed already, both comments in person that we received over the last few weeks.
Real street redesign.
Excuse me?
It's not a street design. right?
It's a proposal that we're going to hear from a member of the community, and just, I want to provide a little bit of background to those who are new to either this discussion or to a Community Board 7 meeting in general. We host these meetings, and when people from the community have ideas and things that they want to bring to us, we listen. That's our job, that's our responsibility. An individual, Laura Sachs, came to us last year. She spoke, she presented briefly to us. We heard her. She expressed a desire to come back, and we agreed to have her be heard with a more formal presentation. She spent the better part of this year working on that. We had her agendaed for an item to be presented here earlier this year, and we prioritized what we expected from the Department of Transportation to be a major proposal about a crosstown street redesign for West 72nd Street. So she graciously agreed to move her presentation until we could accommodate her. Tonight is the night that we agreed to do that. It was noticed several weeks ago in our public documents, in our weekly newsletters, and subsequently has been notified. The block associations had been aware, and we kept them apprised throughout the summer. And then last week, when Laura finalized her presentation and was ready to show to us for this month. This month, as expected, we were planning to have a discussion of 72nd Street. When that got moved, we had time on the agenda to hear from Laura. So tonight we have 45 minutes allotted. We have a process that we're going to handle for this. I believe we have over 50 people who have joined us on Zoom from the community. What we'd like to do is hear from Laura's presentation, which will be 5 to 10 minutes. Then we'll entertain questions from those in the audience from the community here in person, then as many as we can from the Zoom, and then we'll go to committee. This is a discussion. Laura also, the request and what we had previously discussed, just to bring everyone up to speed, was that she ultimately would like this committee to propose a resolution to have DOT study this. It is not a resolution in support of the presentation she's presenting tonight. It is simply the potential for a resolution. We'll see how things go tonight. It's designed to be an open discussion. So I'm going to stop talking and let
Can I
Laura
just say
take
one
over
thing?
quickly.
Yes, I forgot to mention it when I gave my report, which is the money from congestion pricing is raising a lot of money for making stations accessible. And ironically, the station that caused the lawsuit for the MTA to make stations more accessible, which was Middletown Road on the number 6 line in the Bronx, is now being made accessible. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I just have a procedural question. We had a resolution a while ago about 72nd Street. So how does this tie into that?
These are two separate items. And
Okay.
again, we prioritize not only 72nd Street, but I believe your street safety, the loading zone resolutions. And you had said you wanted those. So again, Laura allowed us to push this back. She's waited several months to be heard. And we are now taking the time to listen to her without any prejudice, without any preordained notions of what this is going to be about. We ask the members of the community to approach it in the same manner and give it the respect it deserves. As a member of the community, we encourage all of you to come to us with ideas when you do have items that you'd like us to consider as well. We hope that will happen. So over to you, Laura.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I do want to repeat, this is a discussion, and the whole point of this meeting and this presentation is for the DOT to give the attention to this area that it needs for the improvements that we all can agree are necessary.
Yeah.
So
And just,
yeah,
the DOT of all things, of all meetings, I don't think, unless there's somebody on Zoom tonight from DOT that we have not yet acknowledged, we have tried numerous times over the last several weeks to reach them. They are usually always here, either in person or on Zoom. they are not here for whatever reason
Yeah, I don't
tonight.
see Colleen.
And we want that noted for the record that they are not here, but they will surely be hopefully listening to the Zoom, and we will send them the transcript and everything else. So over to you, Laura.
Looks great. We can see it.
Okay. Just want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know. This is, thank you for allowing me to come back to discuss this proposed idea, which, so as you can see on the screen, the area that backtrack. I live on West 72nd Street. I am an architect. I have a background in urban design. I work for New York City School Construction Authority. But none of that is really relevant. I am not affiliated, and I volunteer with my block association. I'm not affiliated with any organization. This is just me, a resident who looks at this area every day with both a trained and untrained eye. And I would really like to see us improve safety in two primary areas that I want to bring to everyone's attention. One is, I'm going to zoom in right here. This is, as we can all imagine, this is when you exit the subway at 72nd Street, the lower portion of that triangle, crossing 71st Street in the eastern direction on 71st. This crosswalk is exceedingly long, exceedingly dangerous, able-bodied or not. It is really scary to cross this distance. So with that in mind, I keep thinking to myself, what can you do to improve that condition? And the idea that I've come up with is considering between 69th and 71st, if through traffic were redirected, so all the traffic that's traveling north on Broadway right now, and all the traffic that travels north on Amsterdam, it's already merging. It's already merging between 71st and 72nd in front of Fidelity, in front of Grace Papaya, in front of the vitamin shop. That area, all the traffic is merging there anyway. The idea that I have that has some significant benefits in other areas is to maintain the traffic from 69th to 71st only for essential needs. So if we can look at this area here in pink, let me zoom in. So the area that would be affected, if we can consider rerouting the traffic, we still have local traffic coming through, we still have buses, which would have a dedicated bus lane, but we would also have some areas for loading, parking, and sidewalk extensions. But the idea of moving the traffic patterns, it changes this area here, this long crosswalk, and creates a much shorter distance. So let me just go back in order. So the traffic patterns being redirected at 69th Street give an opportunity, and what that becomes remains to be seen. But between 69th and 71st, we now have two blocks that would only be for local traffic, for local traffic and buses. And let me just zoom in here. So going in a little closer, the traffic would turn left, through traffic only, would turn left at 69th. This area, so there's 4 lanes right now between this existing sidewalk and the center Broadway Mall planting area, 4 lanes. So I'm proposing we consider a sidewalk extension. We have a lot of businesses, vibrant, wonderful businesses, from food service, a bookstore, lens crafter, patisserie chanson, the new pizza place, Just Salad, Yaruss. It's a very vibrant area. Having a sidewalk extension, 1 lane, would certainly benefit the area. And then 2 lanes, let me just zoom in a little more. So if it's 69th, right now we have 3 travel lanes going through. I'm proposing one of those, 2 of the lanes would be for travel. The remaining 2 lanes, one would be for shared parking and loading zones, and the other would be for a sidewalk extension. Also providing an area for a dedicated bus lane and maintaining enough space here for the buses to pick up and discharge passengers. So if the traffic that continues along Broadway northbound is only buses and is only local deliveries, then the amount of the 2 lanes here that would be a pedestrian only area greatly reduces the distance of the crosswalk in 5 locations, at 69th, at 70th on the north side, 71st. But most beneficially is right here. This crosswalk, which is the one that is from the lower point of the subway plaza, is more than double any other crosswalk in the area, and it is terrifying. I can tell you that we've all experienced it. So this photo shows the pink area would be no traffic would be going through that because of the redirection of the through traffic, sidewalk extension, dedicated area for loading, a dedicated bus lane, and just one lane only for local traffic. So this
Can I
is,
ask you a question?
yeah, sure, please, yeah.
The traffic that you're rerouting onto 69th Street, which would proceed up Amsterdam Avenue, how many lanes are on 69th Street now?
69th going west,
West.
I believe there's room for 4. There's 2 travel lanes, there's a parking lane, and then there's 2 lanes of parking and 2 lanes of travel.
And you're certainly recommending increasing the number of lanes.
I
think it's 3 lanes.
2 of which are parking lanes.
2 of which are parking.
So it's only 1.
It's only 1 through lane.
So if you want to not have a massive traffic jam at 69th and Broadway, you've got to have more lanes on 69th Street.
Yeah.
You have Morton Williams on 69th. Okay, can you just, Morton Williams, yes.
It's on the far side.
Let's let Laura speak and we'll.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am just putting this out there for a resolution for the DOT to look at this area, because the other area that I want to backtrack is the, where's that picture? The subway. Sorry, there's 2 areas that are safety issues. One is at the north side of the subway, on the north side, the south subway, but on the north side, right here in this photo, on the upper right hand, you see a pinch point. I've measured it. It's 9 feet from the corner of the subway building to the fence. That is absolutely insufficient for the throngs of people that we have coming to this area. And I have seen multiple times, myself included, walking in the street. So I'd like to propose the DOT relocate the fence out into
the subway entrance.
Say again?
Into the subway entrance area?
No.
Which side of?
Sorry, this is.
There it is.
Hard to navigate this.
So the north part of the south subway.
So it's gonna be fed. Right.
Yeah.
So right. Right there. You see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the area, you know, this idea here, I think, is less contentious. We can all agree that this pinch point creates a problem. It's not only inconvenient for people to get through when the subway lets out, but it does cause a safety issue when people are walking in the street. This whole lane here spacious and is a wonderful plaza, and we can all agree that the south side is just incredibly tight and does create not only an inconvenience for people having to wait their turn to get through.
That's the original entrance, that's why.
And the original Broadway went straight through Verde Square, so we can all agree that we look at things with fresh eyes as problems and we learn more about the city and how a city functions. So this proposal, I think, probably should be considered. That was one of the two items that I wanted to have DOT look at. But if we can think about changing the traffic patterns, we have an opportunity here to create this curb extension and greatly reduce the distance at the 71st Street connecting to the subway. I think the benefits of that safety measure certainly worth considering some of the other issues that may be discussed, obviously, in what I expect to be a very robust discussion. But I also want to say, in addition to the pedestrian safety at the crosswalks, having the additional sidewalk extension has an opportunity for planters, more sidewalk space in a very busy, vibrant area. A dedicated bus lane, better transit service. We have an opportunity to provide planters and greenery, improving air quality, providing loading zones, good for businesses. Rain gardens would be a welcome addition to this area for stormwater absorption. Maybe in that sidewalk extension, we have some seating. Our sidewalks are cluttered. Bicycles are cluttering our already crowded sidewalks. So this additional space would be useful for bike corrals, trash containers. I also want to mention that this pedestrian island would be welcome in that area at the 71st Street crossing. So in conclusion, this busy area needs improvement. I'd like the DOT to give the gateway to the Upper West Side the attention it deserves. We have so much going on and so many demands of the space. Space is a shared resource, and I think we can look a little closer at ways we can possibly improve both the safety and quality of life. So the resolution for the DOT to study this area holistically, specifically with the 71st Street crosswalk length being reduced. I come up with an idea that may not be the solution, but something has to be done at that 71st Street crosswalk, possibly changing the way the traffic feeds into it from the south. That's how this idea came about, is looking at that area. The DOT really needs to give us the attention. And lastly, I just want to mention neighborhood pride is another benefit. I'm deeply proud of this area, and we are the gateway to the Upper West Side, and we are the host to the Thanksgiving Day Parade. The countless events, not least of which is the marathon. This area is incredibly busy, and I think Broadway from 14th up to Columbus Circle has been given a lot of attention, and it's time it comes up to 72nd Street. So I hope we can encourage the DOT.
Suggestions, conversation, with the main goal being to improve the safety in the whole area, but specifically at 71st along that crosswalk area. Okay, so that's sort of what's on the table tonight for discussion. Before we go to committee, we're going to have the community go around and have them make their statements, ask their questions. We would like to start with those who are here in the room, and if possible, if you could try to keep your remarks to a minute or so that we can get to those people who are raising their hands on Zoom. Those who do have questions on Zoom, if you could put your hands up so we can take you in turn after those who are in the room have had a chance to address their questions. Another final item I'd just like to say is potentially, without DOT being here tonight, we're not going to have the opportunity to get your questions answered in a technical form. So that may beg the question of us not doing a resolution tonight and moving into next month after DOT can come armed with being able to answer those questions. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but to the extent that you all in the room have technical questions that Laura cannot answer, we may need to wait until somebody from DOT is available.
Hello?
We can't hear anything on the Zoom.
Rid of an illegal vendor in the street, but we did it with 71st Street businesses as well. So, you know, it's nice, it's great, you have the time, all the time in the world to listen to this, but no one's approached us, and this is not anything that we're gonna study.
Well, I think that's just it. I think what one of the guys have said is, that I would add, is that this is a study. Just be careful with what you're gonna approve, because you're thinking you're approving a plan, but you really want to study. So what are you approving?
I think you can let us decide what we need
But it's
to
never-
discuss and talk about. I appreciate your comments,
You've
but I
never
think.
redesigned the streets at the
And the last,
transportation
at the
committee
last
level.
meeting, at the
in the
last
history
meeting,
of-
we didn't know about it, and Ralph and I couldn't get on the Zoom till the very end.
Okay.
The point is.
If I may, you've made your point. We
I'm
understand
not
that,
sure
Monica. You've made your point, and I think Ralph, you and I, we have had discussions about this item for several months now.
Right. But
you were aware that this item was going to be coming towards the board at some point. We noticed the board to the best of our ability.
Right.
Now we're starting to have a discussion. You
Right,
are
but you
here.
sent
Would you like to
something out.
contribute constructively to the
You
discussion
sent
tonight?
something out a few weeks ago where you said redesign from 70th to 72nd. I have that email. You did not say 69th. She's proposing 69th.
At our recent meetings, we've discussed the corridor, okay? So let's keep the conversation where it is, where we are right now,
Okay, that's
okay?
fine.
So would you like to contribute anything constructively other than what your very valid concerns? And
I think that's it.
kudos
We're
to you
not-
for all the work you've done in
Thank
this
you.
stretch. I do remember also that when we had a discussion about a similar stretch just across the avenue, you made it very clear to us on the committee that that was not part of your jurisdiction.
It's not,
On the
and we-
bid.
and we were very clear.
So I think that's
We didn't-
important to acknowledge
We
that.
didn't speak up.
Exactly.
In fact, when someone proposed, Parks proposed a way station for the deliveristas, I thought it was a great idea. I never said a word because it's not within my jurisdiction. However, this is within the boundaries of the Lincoln Square bid. And I just think it's inappropriate for, I mean, she's never even called our office. So, you know, if someone has an idea for our neighborhood, they usually reach out to us and talk to us about it. That has not happened. And frankly, I think there's a reason DOT is not here. That's my guess anyhow, because they know of our concerns about this. So in any event,
Okay,
you know,
thank you.
you're
No,
free to pass whatever resolution.
Thank you for coming tonight and for raising your concerns. And I think it's very important that you're here and we're very
Right.
happy that you are. So thank you
Thank you.
for those comments. Anyone else around the table? I know there are a lot of folks here who may have questions or comments if you live in the neighborhood or not.
Are we up to the committee?
We're gonna go
Community
to,
first.
yes.
Howard,
I'd like to go, could you just, tell us your name?
You want me, I can sit over here. and
That would be nice.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And if we could have you guys come
There's
up.
also, they want you probably hear because that owl.
And in the
Picked up
interest
your
of time,
voice.
if you could line up, if you are able to, if you have.
By the way,
questions.
I am a cameraman and I've been trying to find out where the cameras are. And so this
Oh,
is-
it'll catch.
It's very bizarre. I'm looking at. Anyway, just very quickly, I live in the neighborhood for
Audio cutting out.
Yeah, video is frozen as well.
They won't hear you because they're frozen.
Okay, we apologize for the technical issues.
We're working
For
on it.
anyone who can hear us.
Zoom can't hear us. Is that what you're saying?
It's okay, we can
Go
continue.
ahead.
Hello, Carl Tate. This is Carol C. from next door.
Hi. Oh, yes. I'm just noticing. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to meet you in person. I see the C Jake and I have the Carol on the front.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
we'd like-
me.
Okay, everyone, we're gonna keep this moving along here in the room, so
I
please
intended to
continue.
be short, so. just that.
And please
even
feel
if-
free to adjust these to Laura
Yeah,
too.
There's obviously a traffic jam at 69th Street, 50 feet later, it's the right-hand turn up to Amsterdam. And even if you sort of time those two traffic lights, you're gonna screw up the traffic light timing up Amsterdam Avenue. That's it. So
Thank
it's
you.
obviously a weak point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Laura's taking,
Thank
I
you,
guess you'll
Vic.
be taking notes or listening to this
No, these-
again,
these-
to the things to
This is
take
why we're
back.
having a discussion to bring
Okay,
up points.
next up, I think was somebody here wanted to come forward.
I have a quick question. When you said there's a lane for local traffic, what is local traffic? People who intend to stop?
People who might need to, well, so the block between 69th and 70th, there's only one residential building. It's right by the bus
So
enclosure. But
people
if you need to be dropped off somewhere, you're getting dropped off at the bookstore.
So then I get out of the car
And
in the, not in the lane over from the bus lane and walk across the bus lane?
there's a parking and loading area. How would you get out now? You would double park and you would take up a travel
Well,
lane while you.
I wouldn't double park. I would hop out of an Uber. It would stop. I would hop out.
That-
There's
and
no
that-
bus lane.
There is no bus lane. I'd like to see us have a dedicated bus lane and a dedicated travel lane for local traffic only. And the same way, if somebody's getting dropped off, they're stopped in a travel lane while somebody's getting in or out.
Right, so they would stop in that.
That-
lane. That's all I'm
that-
asking.
yeah,
I'm just
that-
asking
that
what
wouldn't
local
change from-
traffic for 2 blocks means.
That means it would really reduce the amount of traffic that's going through, which is why one lane would likely be adequate rather than the 3
Okay.
lanes that we
So-
have now.
And this might be a question for DOT. We have no idea how many cars go through the 69th Street stoplight in any given cycle who would now be turning left.
We don't, but I do.
Frozen again.
It's funny, we can all talk to each other, but the feed from the meeting is not there.
I'm sorry. I'm not a traffic engineer, but I do look and I don't think that area has a lot of through traffic. It does have a lot of buses and it does have a lot of local traffic going to local businesses. I don't know, but I think that there's certainly something here to consider.
Going to the local businesses on Broadway between 69th and 71st.
Or local businesses in the area. People drive through, this isn't a through area. If you're getting from downtown to uptown, you're not going on Broadway in the 60s. You're
Okay,
not.
but if there aren't that many cars,
But you
then
could be on
what's
8th
the problem are
Avenue
we
coming
solving?
through.
Absolutely, 8th
Mhm.
Avenue is northbound, and that goes around Columbus Circle.
So
for sure.
either there aren't many cars that need to turn onto 69th Street, in which case what problem are we solving by not letting them go straight?
The problem that we're solving is reducing the travel lanes to create a shorter crosswalk at 71st. By the sidewalk extension, 1-lane sidewalk extension, pushing the existing parking out 1 lane.
Right, but
And then
I
at this north portion of the intersection, letting that sidewalk extension double and take up 2 lanes. We've now reduced the crosswalk distance here, but more importantly, we've reduced that
If we could
really long
we-
crosswalk.
we cut the sidewalk.
But again, if
Whether-
there aren't that many through cars, then.
Then let the, forget a bus lane. Instead of 3 travel lanes, we now have 2 travel lanes. Traffic goes through, no reason to turn left. But we still can consider this area in pink can happen whether the traffic goes through or not. I think
We just
reducing the
need,
amount
we
of
need
traffic.
the DOT to say how many cars there are, how many.
We need
cars
a
are on
traffic
every
But that's
side.
it's a very valid question.
It's a valid
Yes.
question. We need a traffic study, but truly, if you backtrack and you look at this intersection from the subway plaza tip to 71st Street on the east side, north corner, that distance is really, really far. And if you can look at the block between 70th and 71st with a sidewalk extension and a double sidewalk extension toward the end, it reduces the through traffic from 3 lanes to 2. But it also gives a considerable amount of crosswalk reduction. That's really the goal of this, is pedestrian safety. It's not to make traffic nightmares.
Do we also have, and maybe once again, it's the DOT, stats on how many accidents there have been there over the last decade?
Yeah, well, there's,
Sure there are.
there's.
I'm sure
this-
there are, I just.
This,
compared to other
if you look at Crash Mapper, this intersection happens to have a very big blue dot on it, which indicates there, I don't have the data, but I do know this area has pedestrian safety issues that the DOT needs to look at and come up with something better than this, but we can't accept this crosswalk. This crosswalk, it took me almost 40 steps. A normal crosswalk is about 8, if you walk from corner to corner, takes about 18 steps as you walk. This one was almost 40. It is incredibly dangerous for able-bodied, disabled, elderly. It's unacceptable. I think we can do better.
Okay, one other quick question. Where would the bike curls be? I don't see them on the diagram.
This is a overview. I'm
Okay,
not
okay.
designing, but the pink area is a sidewalk extension. So rather than parking bikes on the sidewalk, the pink area with the sidewalk extension is an opportunity for us to put things in that the city needs, like trash containers, like bike corrals, and maybe amenities like planters. I said nothing about seating. I'm not, this isn't designed in a detailed way. This is really big picture. How do we solve this problem? And how do we solve this problem at the North Point? Those are the two problems I'm here to solve. I'd like the DOT to use their expertise.
Okay,
and
I
look
just
at
wanted
this
to,
area.
say
Yeah,
some,
no.
some things we would like, I think.
Great.
the
Can we
DOT
get your
to
name?
answer. Oh, Diane?
Yeah.
Crean, CREAN?
Thank you. Going around the room.
Yeah, I just have.
Could you please announce
comments.
your name?
I'm on 72nd Street.
Your name, please.
This has nothing to do with this proposal, but a while
Could we
ago,
get your name, please?
Nadine
Your last name, please?
Cohen,
Thank you.
you approved the Columbus Avenue bid people to put this little cutout on this corner of 72nd so they can put tables and chairs. You know, when those tables and chairs get put out, they get put out when the street is closed on Sunday. So when I look at this proposal and I look and go, and I have 6 notes here. First, I was just wondering, how many accidents have really occurred there? I don't know of any. I'm on 72nd Street. How many people are actually walking through that area in the AM or coming home at night? I actually went there when 72nd Street was going to be a bike lane, and I basically did my own little study. This is not going to help the community, in my opinion. I believe this is just going to be an extension of the homeless. The homeless sit in that little square, that little dot where there's some, you might say, those benches. That's who it's for, the homeless or the bike delivery people. I thought somehow you were, I thought this was part of the bike, kiosk that was gonna be built at the newsstand. I don't know what happened to that. And I just think this is an assault on the community.
Thank you for your comment.
Especially for the seniors.
Okay, thank you. And just to address the question about the tables, Nicole Painter is on the call, I believe, from the bid. I don't know if she's still on. I wanted to give her an opportunity to answer that question. Nicole, I hate to put you on the spot, but I can't see you, and I don't know if you have a response to Nadine's sort of questions and concerns quickly.
She's rejoining now as a panelist.
Okay. And is there anyone else from the room that has a question or comment that we can go to before we go to the 38 people who are, from the committee? We're going to the community first, please. Rita, if you guys don't mind coming up. Nicole, are you with us? Okay, why don't we have Rita speak for a second?
So mine is just really simple, and this neighborhood is extremely busy with a lot going on, and to find a way to share the space, whether it's a pedestrian that's trying to walk across the street, whether it's a bicycle, there's just a lot of things going on. We talked earlier about the loading and the unloading of trucks. What Laura's putting together here is really just a starting point. I think that people are starting to get into the weeds, and we're not talking about the weeds. We're talking about looking at our neighborhood in a very holistic way and trying to figure out solutions. And so everybody here, including Rigie Square did, to come together as a community and say, what, from our standpoint, what do we need to make it better? And really, I give Laura a lot of credit because she put this together her own time, volunteering, and she has some experience. And we're not gonna make any decisions here. I just feel like we should listen to each other and come up with solutions together. as a
Thank
community.
you. Thank you for saying that. Okay, please. And can we get your name?
Andrew again.
Andrew again. Wow, is there any relation?
Yeah. I'm a resident of West 72nd Street, proud resident, yeah, I live in the similar building. as Rita does, yeah. I just wanted to say that what Laura's proposing is very much in line with what we've seen in other complex intersections or bow ties in the city, whether it's Union Square, Madison Square, Herald Square, Times Square. And this is sort of what DOT started as a way to look more holistically at these very complex areas where you have lots of traffic coming together, lots of pedestrian zones. And I think it begins the conversation to look at things like daylighting, to look at things like how can you better utilize the streets, make it safer, do what they've done on 14th Street, you know, which is to make it really a bus-only zone, but there are cars allowed to go for a block or two before they have to turn. So it's very much in the spirit of Jeanette Sadiq-Khan and the new DOT that really wanted to make these complex bow ties that can be intimidating a lot safer and also in some ways greener and in some ways just have multi-functions. So I think I strongly support what Laura's bringing to the table as a private citizen, and I think it's great that the community board is taking this up as a topic. So thank you, and I like the way you introduced it.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. Nicole, we'll go to you next. You're muted.
Muted.
Sorry, I think, can you unforce the mute?
I can't force it, but.
She says it won't let her. I think,
Yeah.
From reading her lips.
Unmute everyone.
Right.
It's because of the technical problem.
Nicole, maybe if you could
Okay.
answer
There you
your
go.
question.
I'm good.
I was gonna
Sorry.
say, or answering in the chat.
Yeah, basically, I hear you, Nadine. We are in the process of transitioning to increase our DOE fund coverage, and they will help us open and close the tables daily. It was a little bit of a growing pain, but I think we're on track to start, having it set up better more often. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Nicole.
I acknowledge it. It's set up more than just Sundays, but it could be a lot better. So I'm working on that.
Okay, so we have 33 people who are online in the Q&A section right now. I don't know if with the hands raised, how many have their hands raised who would like to speak, or if we should just read either read a few of the questions. Is there anyone with their hand up?
Carl.
I guess Carl.
Francis.
We'll go with Carl first.
And then I know Janet Schroeder was on.
There we go.
Been on for a while, so we'll have to go next.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Yes, hi, thank you for letting me speak. My kids went to nursery school on West 69th, by the way, so I know the area quite well, and I'm there all the time. I've crossed Broadway at exactly that intersection of 71st many times. It is a long crosswalk, but I'm 63 years old. I don't have much problem with the length. The problem for me, of course, is the e-bikers completely ignoring the traffic lights. That is far more dangerous, and this does nothing whatsoever to address that. The idea of forcing traffic from Broadway, a significant major street, to make a left turn onto a narrow street, I've walked many times, for the sake of a shorter crosswalk, that's really just, to my mind, a very poorly considered trade-off, and it's seriously misguided. I understand and totally support the urge for safety, but I think this is very clearly the wrong answer.
Thank you. Do you have any responses? No, appreciate his comment. Okay, next, is Janet Schroeder still with us?
Yeah, I asked her to unmute.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Thanks for staying on with us, Janet.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to take this time to first say, Carl, I agree with everything he just said, instead of repeating what other people might be saying after me or before me. I am very against this. I'm against all of this sort of street redesign, as we say. It feels to me that it's very much about getting rid of parking. Parking is something that people need. I'm not pro-car, anti-e-bike, anti-car, pro-e-bike, but I am pro people having a right to park their car and not have to pay $850 in a garage. So this does get rid of parking spots. That's not the biggest issue here, but it is an issue. It looks like you can answer this. I just want to say it looks like planters, possibly tables, chairs. I don't know. I've seen these open street areas all over the city. And what I see in them is e-bikes, mopeds, e-scooters parked within them all around the planters. And also, if there's any room to move in an actual open street, like on Columbus Avenue on Sundays, it is an open street on Columbus Avenue on Sundays. It's open to scooters, mopeds, e-bikes, pedicabs. Thank goodness not cars, because they can't fit down them. But there's nothing that safe about open streets when you have these vehicles going all over the place. I live on West 70th. I'm up here 25 years.
For a minute.
This is my community board, and I just want to say something. I'm really concerned, and I want to make a statement about what I see on community boards. I see a lot of representatives from paid special interest groups, whether they're supporters, they're lobbyists.
We appreciate your comments. We just,
That
we're
is
really
my
limited.
comment.
folks.
Please let me finish. I've been a community member 25 years, and if this isn't true, then you shouldn't want to cut me off. I'm being nice here.
Ask her what interest group she heads up. Okay,
No, wait a minute.
Just be mindful of time and
Why
please
are
make
you,
your point.
this is so unfair. We have people from restaurant lobbies. We have people from bike lobbies. We have the CB5 transportation.
Over your time, that's all it is, Janet, so you have to get to your point.
That is my point. This is
Okay,
a special interest. Start listening to the community. At the end of this.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, I see Beth's hand up. Next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Beth Harulis. I've lived here since 1980 on West 70th Street. I do not support, and for all of the reasons that the West 71st Street Block Association has submitted to this group, this particular proposal. I have been living here. This has been called the bow tie of death. What is happening now with respect to stage lights permitting traffic flow to occur with some safe spaces, maybe it's time for DOT to consider it again. We don't have any data about numbers of vehicles, other uses that would be appropriate, what it would do to the Trader Joe's loading dock on 72nd Street if you cut off a lane of traffic on that middle part of 72nd Street. I think if you want to ask DOT to consider again the current circumstances here, what is the impact on both Columbus Avenue and Amsterdam Avenue with respect to travel and transit, that's all fine and well. We have a bike lane on Columbus. I agree that e-bikes, e-scooters are enormously dangerous and something the Transportation Committee should be looking at. Ask DOT to consider the circumstances, but nobody on 70th Street supports this particular proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I noticed, I think you've noticed that we have a representative from DOT on. Jackie, would you mind letting us know if how long you've been on, and also if you're on. Yes, I hope you're not stuck at 71st Street. Let's hope that is it. Yes, in the bow tie of death.
Hey everyone, can you guys hear me? Hello? I'm not sure if you guys can hear me.
We can hear you, and if you can hear us, maybe just send a Zoom signal with a thumbs up that you can. There's a lot of background noise.
I hear you guys now.
Okay. Have you been listening to this presentation since the beginning?
Yes, I joined at 6:30 when we started. So I did want to just say
we didn't,
thank you.
Just if Jackie, if we could just We were not aware that anyone from transportation was on and would have preferred you had identified yourself so we could have gotten some of these questions answered earlier, but now that you're here, please, I guess just if you want to weigh in or make a comment, that would be great.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, thank you to Laura for, sharing this presentation, and I hear the community's feedback and really appreciate their engagement and perspectives that they've shared tonight. Like you guys had mentioned, we did have originally had looked to have a presentation, but our team is currently reviewing conditions along the corridor and exploring potential improvements. And once we do have a proposal ready, we will come back to the board to present that proposal.
Thank you. Okay,
Can I ask a question?
Actually, I think we'd like to have the questions.
I'll just ask her.
If it's pertinent to the presentation.
Pertinent to what she just said.
Yeah. Yes.
Would what you're exploring benefit in any way from what you're studying, benefit in any way from exploring what we're hearing tonight?
Would a resolution help in that regard, Jackie, is what we're asking? A resolution from Community Board 7. Would it help expedite your study of this corridor?
I think yep, and I think on that note, I think if the board would like to, if there are any key issues that they would like to raise, I think that would, we are always open and happy to hear that as, we work on our street improvement projects. I think we will be more than welcome to that.
Okay, thanks. We have a lot of hands raised and we have very limited time. We had allotted, really until 8:30 for this meeting to close tonight. So we'd like to really just ask folks to please limit, make their point. If it has already been made, we can submit any written commentary for the record. And we'd like to close out the committee discussion and then talk as a committee briefly about how we want to proceed so that folks can be out of here in the next 10 minutes. I think we have one more person in person and then we're going to move to the rest of the committee, the rest of the community that is online.
Yeah, I'll be quick.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Can
Yeah,
you please
sure.
give us your name?
Sure. My name is Mark Lisi. It's L-E-Y-S-E. Well, yeah, I actually confess I'm up in McGill Brews zone. I live at 105, but I'm very familiar with that area and I've walked across that crosswalk. My main point is I am 64, but I have no problem with any crosswalk, even the long one, except one issue, and it's the e-vehicles and other bicycles. So it's like when even a short crosswalk up where I live, when I cross Amsterdam, it's like you have to look 360, you have to look up, down, everywhere to make sure vehicles aren't, and some of the e-bikes go at like 25. So if it hits you, you're dead. And they come in all directions. And then a very scary thing is for at night, if they're not illuminated, you have to really strain your eyes to see them. So that is for me the primary issue. If bikes would or scooters abide by the law, I think there would be no trouble with these long crosswalks. Maybe for elderly people, so I should qualify that. But it's like, but also with elderly people, especially if they have to run an errand at night, they may not have good night vision. I think they're sitting ducks. So I think that's something that's really hasn't been addressed. And I'm not picking on this particular proposal. And I think a lot of people here would probably agree with that just in general. And anyway, that's my main point.
Thank you. I mean, I think everyone is raising really valid questions and concerns tonight. We would love to be able to address all of them. Andrew, Carl, and Wendy. So Andrew, you're up.
Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to comment that regarding, first of all, the last gentleman that spoke, is absolutely right. The biggest problem that most pedestrians have right now is the potential to get creamed by an e-vehicle. Secondly, I wanted to defend Janet Schroeder, who somebody on this board suggested was a special interest person. She does not work for a Hospitality Alliance. I love you, Andrew. She does not work for Transalt. The e-Vehicle Safety Alliance is 1,200 strong, an ad hoc group with zero funding. It's 1,200 concerned citizens that are fighting for the rights of people that are disabled, that are elderly, that are in one way or another mobility impaired, and just regular guys and gals like you and me who went across the street without being rendered ability impaired. So I just wanted to clarify that the e-Vehicle Safety Alliance, evsa.org, is not a special interest. We are we are interested in public safety for the public, by the public. So can we please just make that clear to everybody on board?
Yes,
And we don't want streets taken over for the sake of taking over streets. We want safety first, helmets, registration of e-bikes, licensing for e-bikes. There was an 11-year-old that was hit on an electric scooter yesterday.
Yes. Thank you so much, Andrew. We appreciate that. And Janet, just to clarify, we're trying to listen and hear from as many people as possible. We had no concerns about whether or not you represented a special interest. Our concern is about timing tonight. So thank you for both of your comments. We're going to move on to Carl and then to Wendy. Carl, you're up.
Thanks so much. Carl Mahaney, Director of Streetopia Upper West Side. I'll be very brief. I applaud Laura for putting in the work and the thought to look at the various conditions of this very complicated relic of really 1950s infrastructure. And I think this is exactly the kind of thing that this committee should be asking DOT to look at all over the Upper West Side. There's so many opportunities to make better public space, to make the curb more accessible to more people, and just to make the Upper West Side a little bit more livable and a little bit more functional. And I think what Laura's proposing here is fantastic, and I really hope the DOT takes it up and comes back with some hard data and a design that's fleshed out with their engineering knowledge. So thanks, Laura, and thanks, committee, for giving Laura the time to discuss this.
Thank you, Carl. Wendy, over to you.
Whoops, sorry. Hello, thank you so much. I would just like to propose that any type of meetings that happen in regards to proposals and things like this, like when I look at this proposal, we all have certain problems with it, eliminating a bunch of parking, and lengthening this sidewalk just seems like an opportunity for e-bikes to go even crazier. But I really wish, I'm a victim of being hit by an e-bike. So, and there's a lot of us, that people are included that maybe have been hit by e-bikes. People are included who are disabled, people included who are elderly, because we talk about all these groups, and yet are they being blind people? Are they being included in these proposals? A lot of people do need the parking in order to be able to get in and out of, to go to therapies or to go to, there's just so many issues. And I feel that not always people in those various groups are included in these discussions. And so I would really hope that there's a very strong outreach, because we need all their input. So thank you very much.
Wendy, that point is well taken. And as we transition, I think that's it from the full community Q&A. We do our best. We really, part of the reason we reached out specifically to the bids was because the bids have networks within their communities of people whether they're stores, whether they're neighbors, whether they're residential buildings. We work together with them. There's always more we can do. We have a new chair, incoming chair, who's happens to be a member of this committee, and he has prioritized how we can do better outreach. There's always more we can do. So we appreciate all those suggestions. Bringing it back to our committee now, we want in the remaining few minutes that we have to, if I could just quickly, I'd like to go around the table. I would like to also suggest that as a way to move this forward, that we have had a good discussion tonight. I don't think, given that, Jackie, unfortunately, we heard from you late in this meeting, we haven't had a chance to have a robust sort of DOT sort of engagement on this issue tonight, that we're gonna have to think about what we do as a next step that will most likely not involve advancing a resolution tonight for the DOT to study this. So just wanted to put that on the table.
Said they could study it.
They're going to study it. They're going to study the corridor and this.
The corridor.
Right.
The corridor, but not this.
So what I'd like to do now is just to have those who are here in person from the committee just going around the table. Doug, I know your hand is up to begin with, but we'll go around. Just
My only question was, were the people that were promoted on the screen, did they want to speak? Because they're members of the public.
I did not see the rest of the
I also
people.
noticed that Mr. Avi, who is the principal of Morton
Okay.
Williams, is here.
Thanks. We did not see those hands. If you guys, are there more than the three that are left?
They're all 5 people left.
Okay, so the 5 people left, we're gonna give you a chance, please, if you could keep your remarks to 1 minute, and items that haven't been raised yet, anything else can go on the record. It's mn07@cb dot, can somebody?
Great. Yeah, you can find us on mb7.org. But let's go to Francis Baker first for 1 minute.
Yes, Francis Barker, thank you very much. I am the president of the board of the Dorchester Towers, which is from West 68th to West 69th on Broadway. So this design, which is extremely injurious, I think, to the entire neighborhood, would force all the northbound private traffic to wrap around the Dorchester. Makes no sense. We're very eager to support initiatives, professional initiatives focused on safety and access. And we advocate where I think this should go, which is that DOT, with its experts and experience, is asked for what are options to address the most egregious problems in the intersection at 72nd Street.
Thank you, Francis. I guess I see Carey. Is it Carey? You're up. Can we unmute Carey?
Hi, thank you. I'll try to make this brief. Thanks for holding this meeting. The redesign, I think, while this is obviously an open forum for comment, I'm not trying to be critical in a harsh way, but this looks like up like a park. Like, you know, we've got Central Park and we've got problems in that park with e-vehicles and traffic. This is going to clog up so much traffic in this area. I don't know why there's such a push from TA and other lobbying groups of other people have mentioned it. I'll leave it there. It's clearly a push, and it disregards people's need, especially the elderly, to park their cars in spaces that are available and necessary. Widening pedestrian pathways, I'm going to repeat what Wendy said, only makes it more accessible to e-bikes and scooters and the like. I've been hit twice, and I don't want to be hit again crossing these streets. The DOT also is going to do whatever they want, and they're going to do whatever they want siding with micromobility, because that's where the money is. So I make those statements saying, please, let's be judicious in what we're thinking.
Thank you. Okay, Judy is next, followed by Pamela.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this open forum. I agree with the gentleman who expressed concerns about e-bikes creating hazards by not following traffic laws. I share his concerns very much. I have lived in the area for 30 years. We're talking about for more than 30 years. I frequently travel the streets on foot in the area we're discussing. That's how I get to the grocery store. I went today. The pedestrian areas I have seen built in other parts of the city seem to be populated by more bikes than pedestrians. I'm thinking of the one at about 39th and Broadway for one thing. I would suggest that before we commit to changing the traffic patterns, we study how the existing pedestrian plazas in the other parts of the city are currently being used. I really think we should address that before we create more of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Pamela.
Yes, hi.
Thank you so much for taking me. So I've lived on 72nd Street for 35 years. Before that, on 70th for my entire time at Juilliard. I was hit by an e-bike in front of Lincoln Center, which is also, pretty dangerous crossing, but actually the guy was on the sidewalk. I'm half paralyzed now from this. So when this woman talks about pedestrian safety, the pedestrian safety is not by shortening the crosswalk. That's ridiculous. That crosswalk has been there for 50 years or more, and it's been fine, and I've never had a problem there. That's not where I particularly got hit, although I run my life getting hit by another e-bike every single day. I just want to also agree with everyone else who has also said, the guy who lives in the Dorchester. I mean, have you guys seen side streets in Manhattan? What this woman is talking about?
Pamela, thank you. Pamela, thank you for your comments.
Yeah, hi,
Avi,
everyone.
you'll have I think is Avi the final?
Yes.
final word?
Hi, everyone. I'm Avi Cater at Morton Williams Supermarkets. First of all, hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for all the work you do. It's I love seeing the community in action. Making, the only thing I want to comment on is the 69th Street, because I haven't really studied the rest of it. Forcing cars and trucks to turn left on 69th Street is an awful mistake. It'll make the Cross Bronx Expressway seem like a stroll in the park. You're taking a major artery, I know, it's true. You're taking a major artery like Broadway, you're forcing everyone to turn left. Imagine trucks getting jackknife, tractor trailer trucks trying to make a left turn onto it. It's a very narrow road. It's only 3 lanes. 2 lanes for parking and loading,
yes.
1 tiny lane for going through. And then, but this is very interesting, this chart on the screen doesn't show it. If you just go a tiny bit to the left, when you get at the end of 69th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam, guess what? That's not a through street. You see, you cannot go through. You're forced to make a right turn on Amsterdam. So imagine cars and trucks being lined up there, waiting to make a right turn on Amsterdam, waiting for the light to change. Meanwhile, traffic is being backed up all the way across the street on Broadway. Ambulances, fire trucks can't go down.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. And that is I happen to live in the neighborhood right there, around there. And I do know that is I think we'll close with that very good point, that it is an area where there is not through traffic that can go on the other side of Amsterdam. Thank you for raising that. That was a new point. Okay, we have a few minutes left. I think we're going to go to the committee now to have a brief discussion. Again, I am mindful of people's time. We are not cutting people off because we don't want them to speak. We're cutting them off only because we're really trying to have a proper meeting and adhere to the time limit we gave for this tonight, which was 45 minutes, which we've already exceeded. So again, going around the table, now or forever hold your peace. Doug, you've asked your question. Do you have any comments?
I didn't ask a question. I pointed out that you had members waiting that weren't heard. You can skip me if I had something.
Okay. Anything, guys?
The issue that many speakers have brought up, which was we need to get statistics from DOT as to number of vehicles in various places. And I think that will help us guide us through this.
The thing we've heard about the most at this meeting about redesigning Broadway for this stretch of 2 blocks is e-bikes. That's what the community is concerned about. And I would remind everybody, particularly the co-chairs, in September of 2021, this board passed the resolution calling for asking DOT statewide, citywide, the mayor's office, the governor's office, etc., all our elected officials to look at what then, going on 4.5 years ago was a burgeoning problem. We heard nothing. In December of 2021, we passed another resolution asking that e-bike riders be required to be registered, not necessarily to be licensed, but to be registered so that they're identifiable, to be insured so that people like the people we've heard tonight that have been hit by e-bikes have some recourse. To require e-bike readers to wear helmets, which finally,
Right.
the city council recently enacted a bill requiring that and requiring the companies that engage the deliveristas to pay for it, which our resolution did. With respect to Laura and adding the statement from DOT that they are going to look at this, Carter, I think we've spent an inordinate amount of our time and the community's time on this proposal. What we should do is focus on the problem that every single one of our elected officials has told us generates more complaints to their offices than any other issue that they have to deal with. We need to get back and focus on e-bikes, on transportation aspects, the safety aspect. And that's what this committee should be focusing its attention on and spending its time on.
Thank you, Jay, and that's why we have these meetings.
Well, e-bikes may generate more complaints, but cars and trucks are generating the death.
Yeah, well, with respect,
No,
with
I am
respect, Ken
talking.
voted against these
I am
safety
talking.
regulations.
Cars and trucks are generating the deaths on the boulevard.
Two
The
wrongs
bow
don't make
tie-
a right.
The bow tie of deaths.
What are the percentages?
Hey, everyone.
The percentages.
Excuse us.
If you're not,
We're having committee discussion right now. We're about to wrap up. Ken, please
And-
continue.
and, you know, when people bring up e-bikes, you know, I hear it, you know, they're scary, but what we're really talking about is parking laws. This is the real agenda of a lot of the people who bring up the e-bike issue. I'm really sorry to say that.
Ken, thank you.
And that's just my personal
Okay.
assessment of the situation.
Silence.
But we are just being asked, and just look at how frightened people are of just considering talking about studying a change. You would think that we were going to vote on this as a proposal. We're just being asked to ask DOT to say, is this feasible? Like, take a look at this. They're already saying that they're going to look at other things, other ways of improving the bow tie of death. So we're just, you know, we're being asked, like, present this and maybe look at this too.
Okay, thank you. Your point is very well taken.
Thank you.
Before Howard speaks, we have to respect one another's right to speak without stepping all over one another. Before we proceed,
We don't want parking.
do I need to ask you to leave?
You
Please,
need to ask
please
not
be
to put
silent.
words in our mouth.
Please be silent
If we say
until
we're
you're
here
at,
e-bike, we're
you
here
had your
e-bike.
opportunity to speak. Howard has not spoken yet on this issue.
have been
Okay,
silent.
I don't have a gavel, but if I had it, I would use it. Howard.
Okay, I'll start off by saying e-bikes are clearly an issue, but they're not the issue. We can do more than one thing at a time. And we're not discussing e-bikes with regard to this one matter. With regard to this one matter, thank you for bringing it to us. I don't think this is the final proposal, but I think it's worth looking at. I always think it's worth looking at if we can improve our streets. So I'm 100% in favor of looking at it. And so I don't understand why we're not having a resolution.
Let's.
Going around the table.
Okay, if I have anything else to say. We've called for studies before. For all the people in this room who are afraid of change, I'll just tell you the consolation. If we call for a study, we're extremely unlikely to hear back from the DOT regarding anything. So that's just a fact. That's, yeah.
I think I said that.
Yes, no, that's true for many studies. I'm not faulting them. They have a lot on their plate. But I just want to say, I think it's a great idea to look at it and see if we can improve it for pedestrian flow, for safety, for aesthetics. It's just worth looking at. That's all.
Alex.
I have nothing new to add. I think Laura is really nice of you putting all this work and coming to see us. And I think we've had a good conversation about it, but nothing to add other than what others have said.
Jami.
I would say that the dialogue has been robust and healthy, and I thank everyone for participating. As we go later and later in these meetings, we do tend to lose our discipline, and that's understandable. We do have someone who sent an email, as Elizabeth did with the last issue. We had to read we were happy to read an email from someone who was not able to be present. I don't think Fran Matola was here tonight on this issue, so let me share, and we can't go more than a minute, so I'll share the crux of her message. And she is writing to thank us for listening to her concerns, and to say that she is against the proposal, against the study of the proposal. She believes that people with disabilities and older and frail people will be adversely impacted by the plan. It will remove bus stops and the ability of vehicles, including Assessor Ride, to stop and pick people up on Broadway in the areas that will be closed to traffic. The redesign proposal is likely to have other serious negative consequences, and then she lists several, and she's concerned specifically, I'm paraphrasing, please forgive me, gridlock at Columbus Circle, as was mentioned, slowing of fire trucks, police, ambulances as they try to go north on Amsterdam to get to life-threatening emergencies, displacement to side streets, as has been mentioned, and businesses that rely on through traffic. And there are several other points. So Fran, I apologize for not being able to read past the minute, but I want to respect everyone else who took time to be within that minute. And we thank you very much for sending your email to us.
We've had 5 or 6 additional, I believe all of our comments that have come in online to us via letter have all been against the idea of a study. We will provide those informations as matters of public record, and Laura can review them. Carey, and then Sofia, Andrew, you'll close.
Brief question and a comment. How many parking spaces, your best understanding, would be eliminated under the proposal?
There was no elimination of parking.
Any parking?
Correct.
Including on 69th Street where there are 2 parking lanes?
That's it. I'm talking in the area on Broadway. We were just relocating the parking that's right now adjacent to the curb, pulling it out so the sidewalk extension would be able. There's not a lot of parking on Broadway.
Okay. Just so you know, there are 5 parking spots on that stretch of 69th between Broadway and Amsterdam. I counted this morning.
Okay, so
okay.
5 on each side.
5 on one side, the other side is the loading for Martin Williams.
Yeah, I just suggest for the chairs that if we're going to write a resolution, if DOT is already studying this, it's probably possible to write a resolution that can get broad acceptance about we endorse a study for the area with certain concerns that we'd like them to address. I don't know that tacking on a specific proposal is necessarily going to be productive.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going. I hope that we can vote on the resolution tonight. To me, it's a no-brainer. All we're asking is for DOT to look into this, so let's leave it to the experts. And personally, I really value your time that you put into this, and I feel sad. I feel like a lot of hostility has been put towards you this evening, so hopefully we can do better during the next discussion too.
Welcome to CB7 transportation. This is par for the course, and I appreciate everyone for coming tonight. I know not everyone is in agreement. I know there are people who are upset, people who are expressing their concerns, also people who have come to us as members of the community with interesting ideas. That's what we encourage. That's how we started out. I have an idea for this, a couple of ideas on the table. One is we could do, given all we've talked about tonight, a thoughtful letter acknowledging what was discussed, encouraging DOT to look into this further. We could go as far as to do a resolution formalizing that we want them to study this. Or one thing that I have noticed, given the folks who did give up time to come tonight, requesting data and information that we simply do not have right now in order to inform ourselves of doing a resolution. Figuring out a way, whether we do a public meeting between now and November, where we can hear from DOT and then come up with the resolution, do a separate meeting. I hate to push this beyond this month because we've already, as rightly mentioned, we have devoted a lot of time tonight to this, and we have a lot of other issues in the neighborhood that we'd like to spend a lot of time on as well. I'm going to propose these 2 options. I mean, there's the letter there's a resolution, there's doing something public between now and November, or let's say now and the end of the year, where we could then, as a transportation committee, hopefully have the data that we need
What
to arm
kind of
ourselves.
date? Can you be more
The
specific?
crash mapper data for one, that Laura has offered but DOT has not, we can get it anywhere. You did not, unfortunately, you didn't have it ready tonight. That's something I would have really liked to have had to guide my own decision. Other people who have asked about relative, I thought there was a really good question asked tonight about this neighborhood versus other neighborhoods in the city, how we could compare them. That information. Yeah, yes, exactly. And just traffic volume, other ideas that I think would help us as a committee inform our decision about this resolution, potential resolution. And Jackie, I don't think you're prepared to answer those questions tonight, if you're even still on. I appreciate if you are still on, but those are things I would personally like to know.
Oh, I would just propose the resolution, and in the resolution, I would ask for all of that data. It would be a resolution calling for the DOT to study this, and in the interim, to provide us with that data. So that's my resolution, if anyone wants to second it.
What is the this? Study what?
Yeah, a study, her actual proposal, I think you did a lot of work. I'm not saying it should, that is what it should be, but it would get the conversation going. Again, the perfect should not be the enemy of the good. You've heard that before? So I'm looking for a second.
Jackie's unmuted.
Okay.
So there's a proposal on the table right now.
There's a motion, so.
I was just gonna say, unfortunately, I do not have that data on me at the moment. But again, happy to take that back to the team.
That's fine.
The only thing I would add to what Elizabeth said is the other thing that has not been considered are all the many comments that Laura could take back and consider that she's not been able to do right here at this meeting that were in writing submitted to us in advance of the meeting.
Although from having screened them, I will say that there's not a whole lot that wasn't brought up tonight. that's in
This
those
last
comments.
message that I
That
went
would-
through had some.
Right,
some
but
things.
I've read through the ones that have come in so far all seem to address, especially the e-bike situation, which has been raised. So,
I
Andrew.
just think we need to just pull everything back in so many different directions, and I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but Laura had said multiple times that the main focus was the crosswalk on 71st Street and the lanes of it. So maybe if we were just to like, not the name was gonna forget that whole conversation, but take everything else that we were talking about and just say, there's an extra long crosswalk on 71st Street that perhaps has had a lot of accidents, and we want to try to make it safer for pedestrians.
But has it?
And
But
also,
has
we
it?
don't know, but that's
We
why
don't
we're
know
not
that.
ready yet.
That's what I'm saying.
And
That's what
also
we're-
the sidewalk at the subway
Yeah.
on the north side.
And just focus on not any solution, just saying these, like what you're saying, these are the two areas.
2021 to
And let's just look at the data.
That's what we said at the
And, yeah,
beginning
I
of the
know.
meeting. So we wanted to give everyone a chance to be heard and Laura to present. Howard, is that something that you would be open to? Since you put, instead of to have the resolution to study the Laura Sachs proposal, have it to be to study the 71st Street crosswalk.
I have no problem with that. I just want DOT's attention on this area to make improvements. That's really all that.
Okay.
I'm hoping to achieve.
Okay, so is there a second to what Howard is technically, or I'll second it. Can I second it if I'm a?
Yeah,
Okay.
you seconded
I'll
the
sec-
Howard with a friendly amendment from Andrew, right?
Yeah, so this is basically to look at 71st Street. Okay, a resolution to look at the 71st Street crosswalk and have DOT study that.
And the extension of the plaza.
Yep.
The north.
Well, now we're expanding it.
I think
No,
it's-
that's
why
that's
that's
pretty-
simple.
I
That's
just
pretty
want to clarify,
uncontroversial.
it's both, it's all part of the
Maybe
same
you
plaza,
think
that
so.
triangle. Between 72nd and 71st, where people come out of the subway, there's 2 points where it's very treacherous. One is at the.
Yes, I think they both should be in there, not just the crosswalk, but that little. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Carey.
We've spent at least 3 hours on this topic. At the end of our summer meeting, when we were rushing to take a vote, I raised the objection that we didn't have anything in front of us at that point, and I wasn't comfortable voting on
Anything
just
in writing.
something. We had nothing in writing.
Exactly.
We still have no resolution in writing. I don't think Howard's put anything on the table. I don't know what, we can't, this is not an appropriate process, especially when we've spent so many hours on it. we don't know what we're voting on, we don't know what we're writing, and I'm not gonna be in a position to vote for anything tonight. And I reiterate the comment that I made at the end of the summer, and I had hoped that the takeaway from that would have been that we were going to, a resolution would be prepared similar to this, so we could discuss, look at it, amend it, and the community could comment on it, because there have been any number of cross concerns that have been raised. And while I'd be happy to support the DOT's efforts to study the corridor and to raise certain things, this is not how I think we should be drafting something that we're voting on. So I reiterate my objection, and I can't support anything tonight because of that.
But if we were to table it and come back with a
Absolutely.
resolution, we could look
We
at
can
it and
consider
vote.
I just want to remind you, the
Agreed.
document that I shared had this very resolution at the bottom, which is just asking for the DOT to look at this area holistically. That's the wording that I
Yes.
shared, that's the document.
That's what was shared, and that's, I mean,
It's not, it's not,
it's as simple as that. If that is not, I totally understand what you're saying about procedure. I think we can all agree at this point, and I'm just gonna throw this out here. I think we should end this meeting, and we've had valuable discussion. I reject the notion that for people who have said this has been a waste of time. It has not. I think we owe members of the community the right to come and hear from them. We did this tonight. We had no other item on the agenda for discussion tonight. We are before 9 o'clock. Our meetings usually run about 2 hours. What?
Go on, that's too long in my view, go on.
Okay, well, that's fine, but the alternative would have been to cut off people tonight, and I think this is fine. My suggestion, Howard, I appreciate your suggestion. My thinking is tonight, we leave this, we come back with a resolution if we so desire.
And we may
You
hear something from
currently have-
DOT in the next month too.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Howard made a motion and you seconded it?
Yeah.
I did second it, so.
So something, Howard has to withdraw his
Do you want to
motion.
withdraw it? Okay.
I asked unanimous consent for us to adjourn. Are there objections?
Are you moving?
I asked
Oh, that's a
unanimous
clever.
consent.
I'm in.
Without objections, so ordered.
Someone objected.
We still have a motion on the table.
Can't object it.
Can we put parliamentary procedure aside for
No,
one
no,
moment? But listen, this is a community board. We're supposed to be listening to folks tonight. We've listened to them.
That was
We're not in
good.
a position to do a resolution tonight.
Agreed.
We're not gonna do it, okay?
Can
I don't
we-
care if we
can
need to
can
withdraw, like,
Can we get
I'm
some sort
just-
of pledge that we'll bring it up next month?
Well,
I don't think we can pledge anything for next month. I think we can pledge that we're gonna continue to look at this corridor. We're gonna continue to follow Laura and her presentation. We're gonna continue to have, hopefully, something that we can eventually do as a resolution. We will continue to push DOT to look at this corridor and in particular, look at her proposal. That we can do just from them listening to this Zoom tonight.
And we can sign cards holistically yours.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm flabbergasted. I mean, I've been on this board for 15 years. We did our best to try to run meetings tonight. I'm really disappointed that folks are disappointed. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, you
I'm
have
done.
you have a motion on the table, so either
Why
Howard
not?
has to
Why
withdraw
not?
it or not. So
I
you
will-
either
I will
call the motion.
withdraw it.
Thank
We'll
you.
withdraw it. Okay, then I think we're in a position to close down the meeting.
Motion
So how about new
Motion to
business? What
adjourn?
happened to new business?
Motion to adjourn, second on new business.